If you're buried alive, use your shirt to cover your mouth, which will filter the dust. Then focus on breaking the coffin open with small, controlled movements. If you manage to break through, try to move the rushing dirt towards the empty spaces at your feet, working your way up the sides. Then slowly sit up. As the dirt falls, continue to push it into the coffin until you can stand up. Then start pushing the dirt upwards and out of the grave. If type A blood is injected into a type B patient, you'll immediately start to have chest pains and feel feverish. And this is because your immune system is attacking the foreign blood, which causes the blood cells to break down. And within just a few minutes, your blood pressure could drop dangerously low, and your organs might begin to be damaged. This could eventually lead to a heart attack if you're not treated. If you shot a .50 caliber round at a cast iron skillet, the bullet would go right through it with ease. But what would happen if you stacked 10 of these skillets in a line and then shot? Well, some people think the bullet would go right through all 10, but each skillet would absorb significant energy, slowing the bullet dramatically. As it continued, it would lose more force with every impact, stopping at around the third skillet. They drilled small, precise holes into the teeth using sharp tools, making sure not to hurt the nerves inside. These holes were just deep enough to make a pocket without drilling through the entire tooth. Then they chose gems and carefully shaped them to fit perfectly into these holes. Once in place, they used a natural cement to keep the gems permanently secured in the teeth. If you ate an ant, you might think it wouldn't have any nutritional value, but about 20% of an ant is made up of protein, and a single one would give you roughly 1 milligram. If you ate an entire handful, it would be about the same as taking a small bite of steak. But to match a protein shake, you'd need to consume around 20,000 ants. When you die, insects quickly arrive and lay eggs on your body. Now, these eggs hatch into larvae, which start feeding on the decomposing tissues. As they feed, these larvae grow and go through very predictable developmental stages. And when your body is found, scientists can determine how long you've been there and when you died by studying which insects are present and how old they are. To fire the giant crossbow, a crank system was used to pull back the string loaded with huge stones. When it was released, the string snapped forward, launching the stone with incredible force. The design was meant to intimidate enemies with its size and power, but it was never actually built. It wasn't until 2003 that a team finally used Da Vinci's plans, but the results were disappointing, with the stone only landing 50 yards away. As he opened the storage unit, he found a human body wrapped in plastic. He was expecting to find valuables after winning the locker on the reality show. The body was actually linked to an occult case, with reports suggesting that the woman had been murdered by her husband and left in the storage unit years before. This dark find became storage auction lore, where buyers sometimes uncover nightmares instead of treasures. If you get a splinter, you could just ignore it and assume that it will work its way out. But if it doesn't, the area can become red and painful, a sign of infection. Bacteria from the wood can enter your bloodstream. This infection could turn septic, spreading rapidly through the body and causing organ failure. It's rare, but leaving splinters untreated could be deadly, so don't ignore them. They demanded his money, but the delivery man refused, so they pulled out a snapping turtle. They pushed the turtle right up to his face, its jaws snapping. The burglars warned him not to move, or the turtle would bite him. The man stayed still while they grabbed his money pouch and ran off with the turtle. A surgeon places a soft, flexible tube into the wound after surgery. The tube connects to a suction device, which creates a gentle vacuum. This carefully pulls fluid out of the wound, preventing swelling and infection. As the fluids collect, it flows through the tube and into a small closed container, keeping the area clean. Over time, as the wound stops producing fluid, the drain is carefully removed. Slip the shoelace between the car door and frame, carefully working it down until it reaches the lock. Now, you'll need to have tied a small loop in the middle, just large enough to fit around a door lock. Position the loop around the lock and gently pull it tight. With steady pressure, lift the shoelace upward, drawing the lock open. The door unlocks and you can now pull it open without a key. As he tried to dig himself out of the avalanche, the snow kept falling inside his car. But in the back seat, he had 60 bottles of beer that he'd packed for the trip. As he cracked one open, he had an idea. He scooped the snow from above, packing it down below the window before peeing on it to melt it. Over the next 4 days, he kept drinking and peeing his way to freedom, and was eventually found wandering drunk along the mountain path, according to the legend. When you throw a cast net, small weights around the edge pull the net open in a circle. As it hits the water, the net sinks quickly because of the weights, and the fast descent traps fish underneath before they have time to swim away. A drawstring is then pulled, clinching the bottom closed like a pouch and sealing the fish inside. Finally, the net is retrieved and the fish are collected. When he knocked down the wall in his basement, he found a hidden room. It led to a maze of tunnels stretching hundreds of feet underground. He had accidentally discovered an ancient city built thousands of years ago. At 18 stories deep, it was big enough to house up to 20,000 people. Inside, archaeologists found schools, stables, and wine cellars. It also had ventilation shafts, secret doors, and even escape routes. That's because it was used as a refuge from war and invasions. And after remaining unknown for thousands of years, it's now a well-known tourist attraction. They panicked as the comet approached, after a scientist claimed its gas tail could poison Earth's atmosphere. He was sure this would kill all life on the planet, and people believed him. Gas masks sold out, anti-comet pills became popular, and people even sealed their keyholes to keep out the deadly vapors. Some even thought it would cause the oceans to shift, washing away all of the land. But when the comet actually came, nothing happened. Instead, panic turned to celebration as people danced in the streets and enjoyed the show. If you caught a prehistoric megalodon, it would take 2 school buses end to end to measure it. That's because they grew up to 82 feet long and weighed over 30 metric tons, with each tooth being bigger than a human hand. Compare that to a great white shark, which is about the size of an SUV. And even their biggest teeth are only about 3 inches. Just don't measure them while they're still in use. A bullet flew through his right eye, lodging into his skull, and a second bullet hit him right in the chest. It should have been a fatal injury, but somehow he didn't die. That's because he kept a small Bible in his coat pocket, and this stopped the musket ball from piercing his heart. Surgeons removed the bullet from his skull, and he lost his right eye, but the Bible saved his life, and he kept it as a reminder. If you shave over a raised mole, the blades from the razor could cut into the flesh, making it bleed. Now this cut could get infected, and if it isn't treated, the infection can spread to the surrounding tissue. In rare cases, bacteria from the infected mole can enter the bloodstream, causing blood poisoning and shutting down your organs. So next time, you better just shave around it.